Just a second. Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing about the different storage modes that are there in Power BI, namely import mode, direct query mode, live connection, and dual composite or hybrid mode. And yeah, one thing I forgot to tell you was the import mode makes use of a vertipack compressor. Now, why is that so? Now, if you remember, in the last class, I told you that in the import mode, the tables or the data is actually brought into Power BI. Okay, the tables are actually brought into Power BI and stored in Power BI. And when they are stored in Power BI doesn't store them as it is, but it compresses and stores them. Okay, it compresses and stores the data. And to compress that, it makes use of the Vertipack compressor engine, which is a part of Power BI software. Okay, and that's why it's written here. Then we discussed on what that query was, what live connection was, and what the hybrid mode was. Okay, so let's discuss the differences between the import mode and direct query in a bit more detail. Okay, so first things first, when we use the import mode, okay, when we use the import mode, there's a bit of limitation to the size of the file that you can use in PBIX. Okay, so let's say if you have a Power BI Pro license, okay, if you have a Pro license, then you can store up to 10 GB. Okay, but nowadays in premium license, okay, basically if you look at Power BI service, there are three types of licenses. Actually, there are four types of licenses. One is actually the free license, which is not a license at all. It's free. Okay. And then comes the pro license, then comes premium per user license, and then comes premium per capacity license. Now we'll discuss those licenses or variants in detail when we deal with Power BI service. But the thing to be known is that if you have uh, the pro license, you can use in Power BI service to upload the PBIX whose size is up to 10 GB per file. Okay. But whereas if you have premium license, then you can upload a file whose size is up to 100 GB. Basically, your PBIX file could be having up to 100 GB size. Okay. And when we come to direct query, there is actually no limitation, no such limitation, because here the data is not actually in Power BI, but the data is actually stored in the backend. In Power BI, we just establish its connection with the backend. Okay. Then there's one more thing. Okay. When you work on the import mode, okay, you can import the data from multiple sources. Okay, meaning one of the table can come from CSV, one of the table can come from Excel, one of the table can come from SQL DB. Okay, but one more thing here is that when you're working on direct query, your data, your whole data should come from a single source. Your data must not come from different sources. Okay, meaning it shouldn't be the case that there's one direct query connection with SQL Server DB, one direct query connection is with MySQL. That will not happen. Okay. If you're bringing some data from direct query, all of that should be from single source. Okay. And then the performance, when we compare the performance, obviously the performance of the import mode is faster compared to the direct query mode. And can anyone tell me the reason why? Yes. Why that?
Data is local.
Come again?
Data is local, no network traffic.
Exactly. The data is local because the data is in Power BI now. Okay. Then, I mean, it will not be depending on, as you said, the network traffic, or there might be the cases where SQL Server, it kind of shuts down due to heavy usage of heavy usage due to multiple users and memory issues. Okay. Whereas if we are considering the import mode, there won't be any such cases until and unless you are planning to refresh the data. Okay, if you plan to refresh the data, again, yeah, it will be depending on the backend, but you can work on the existing data nonetheless. Okay, so this import mode is certainly more faster compared to the direct query mode. And this is very important reason why the import mode is preferred over direct query in most of the scenarios. Not just most, I think in more than 95% of cases, the import mode is preferred compared to direct query. Okay. So then next, let's compare the next thing. Okay. So let's say if there is change in underlying data, what is meant by that? Let's say in the backend, we are using the SQL Server, okay, database, which is coming from SQL Server. If the data is changed in the backend or in the SQL Server in this instance, then if you are using import mode, that change immediately will not be reflected in Power BI until and unless you press the refresh button. This actually I've explained in the last class. Hope you remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas if you're in live connection or direct query mode, this slight change or change in the underlying data will be immediately reflected in Power BI as well. Okay. So this is the case. I request everyone to please mute yourself until or unless you have any doubts, please. So next thing. And this, the next thing, the data storage in Power BI. This I explained when I told you about the Vertipack compressor. So here what happens? The data is actually stored in kind of cached or buffer mode in Power BI. Okay. When we use the import mode, and the compressor used for that is called Vertipack compressor engine. And here the data will not be stored in Power BI. Power BI, it will be actually stored on premises or basically on the backend. Okay, so this is the thing. Then when we consider the refreshes, the number of refresh or data refreshes that are possible per day while using the import mode, in premium capacity, 48 refreshes are possible. But let's say if you have a pro license, not the premium license, if you have pro license, then only 10 refreshes will be possible per day. Okay. Whereas if you consider the live connection or direct query mode, you can refresh as often as you want. There is no limitation to that. Okay. You can set refresh as often as every 15 minutes as well. There's no such problem with that. Okay. Then the next thing, when you're working on the import mode, okay, it supports all the transformations that are possible through Power Query Editor. Okay, it supports all the transformations. Whereas if you're working in the direct query mode, some of the transformations will not be supported. Okay, some of the transformations will not be supported. I'll tell you, some of the transformations will not be supported. Let's say you are working in the hybrid mode. Now, can anyone of you tell me what is the hybrid mode? This we explained in the last class. Yeah. Yes. What is the hybrid mode or composite mode or dual mode? No one remembers that?
It can contain different data sources at once.
See, not just different data sources. A hybrid mode is the mode wherein some of the tables are brought in through import mode and some of the tables are brought in through direct query mode. Okay, so that is what we call as hybrid mode. Now the thing is, let's say, I hope you people are familiar with the transformations like establishing the joins or merging the tables. Hope you know that, or using the union functions.
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's say if you want to merge the tables, and let's say one of the table is coming from direct query mode and another is coming from import mode, then that merge will not happen, guys. Okay, so there will be some limitations when you're working on Power Query Editor and using direct query mode. Okay, and similarly, if you're working on the DAX, that is the front end of the Power BI, data analysis expressions, when you're working on the import mode, it supports all the DAX functions. Whereas the usage of some of the complex DAX functions, mainly like time intelligence functions, those will be restricted. And some other DAX functions also will be restricted. Okay, so there is a bit of limitation to usage of the full capacity of the Power BI when we are talking about the direct query mode. So that is one of the problem with that. Okay, and all these restrictions which you are seeing, all the limitations which you're seeing here when we talk about the direct query mode, these are responsible, or basically due to these, people don't use the direct query mode very often. Okay, and then here again, as far as the DAX functions are considered, the calculated tables we can do here. We can create the calculated tables, but the same thing is not supported when we're using the direct query. Okay. Also, there is one AI functionality in Power BI which gives you the quick insights. That is available in import mode, not available in direct query mode. Okay. So all these, and there are various other reasons in here which are listed. Okay. So these are the reasons why we usually prefer the import mode compared to the direct query mode. Although Power BI or the Microsoft themselves, they tell us that whenever the data size is huge, you try to use the direct query mode, but nonetheless, it comes with its own set of disadvantages. Okay, so that's the reason we use the import mode most of the times. Okay, any doubts?
Pawan,
Yes,
quick
yes,
question.
yeah.
On the second bullet, data source, import from multiple versus only from single source. I didn't fully understand because we are saying hybrid is allowed, right?
Yeah,
When
but the
hybrid
thing
is
is,
allowed,
yeah, I'll tell you what. See, in hybrid, you will be bringing direct query from one source, not direct query from multiple sources. Getting the point?
okay.
So that is
So,
clear?
so in import, we can have one connection pulling data from multiple sources.
Hmm.
Okay, got it. Is there an option for Power BI on premise? Like, is it always cloud? Are there any, if our organization has concerns with data security, can
Yeah,
we have Power BI on-prem?
yeah. On-prem, there's always on-prem with respect to data source, not with respect to Power BI service. Power BI service, your Power BI work will always be on cloud itself. Okay, but yeah, the data source, you can keep it on-prem as well. You can avoid keeping the data in cloud. That is possible. Yeah.
No, the imported data I want to keep on-prem, not on cloud. Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, these are the various differences. So anyone else has any doubts, people, before we move on to the next thing? Okay, fine. I hope it's clear with everyone. Thanks.
I'm sorry, for just an extension of that same query. The Power BI desktop version that we are using, if I import data, any source, Excel or database, is that going to, I didn't set any I didn't change any of the out of the box configurations. So when I import data, is it going to stay in cloud or on-prem on my machine?
First of all, let me ask you from where you imported that?
From Alexa Excel sheet on my desktop.
Yeah, then it will be. I mean, it is not on cloud. It's in your desktop itself. Yeah, local machine.
Okay. And if I import a SQL Server database into Power BI, it will stay on-prem, right?
See, the thing is, even if even if you do the SQL Server import, if you are using the import mode, then it will, then it will come and stay in the local itself. Okay, in your machine.
Okay.
Hope that is clear.
Yeah, that is clear. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, let's move on to the next very important thing, that is transforming the data by using the in-house ETL tool of Power BI, which we call it as Power Query Editor. And in Power Query Editor, we can do various transformations like the ones being listed here. We can remove the unwanted rows, columns, adjust the column headers, renaming, removing the blanks, removing the duplicates, merging columns, or basically appending columns, okay, using the pivot, unpivot. Most of the things, transformations, we can do it in Power BI or Power Query Editor as well. So let's move ahead with that, okay? So first of all, let me instance new instance of Power BI. So I'll just go to the start, click on PBI. Then let me open this. Now, the Power BI desktop is open. Before you actually do the ETL in Power Query Editor, we have to do certain initial settings in Power BI desktop. And the reason for doing that is, if you don't apply those initial settings, then what will happen? Some of the transformations are done by Power BI itself, and you will not be getting to know how to do that yourself. Okay, so that's the reason this is very important. So to do that, what you need to do is you need to go to the file, then go to options and settings, then again options again, and in this, let it open. So here what we need to do is, there are two options, mainly two options here. One is global and another is current file. I hope both of them are visible to you. Okay, so under the global, there's data load, and it's basically in the data load right now. So here, type detection, under type detection, you click on never detect. Okay, don't use these two. You click on never detect column types and headers for unstructured sources, because that transformation we are going to do it ourselves. Okay, else Power BI will be doing it automatically and you will be not knowing how it exactly happened. Okay, so keep it to this. Then again, in global itself, you need to go to the regional settings. And in the regional settings, you make sure that the application language and the model language are set to English, United States. Okay, so this is what you need to make sure. And then you go to the current file. Under the current file, you go again to the data load. And in the data load, you uncheck import relationships from the data sources on the first load. Okay, and also uncheck auto detect new relationships. Both of this you do uncheck. Okay, and then again, under the current file section, you again need to go to the regional settings, and you again need to make sure that the locale for import is set to English, United States. Okay, and once this is done, then you click on OK, and then you go on doing the Power Query editing stuff. Hope this is clear with everyone. Okay. So
I just have one doubt. I mean, this is the basic settings we have to do before the class. I mean, before we start doing anything in the Power BI editor, right?
Power Query Editor. Yes, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, so let's start bringing the data, and let's start cleaning the data by using the Power Query Editor. And to bring the data, basically what we'll do is we'll go to the get data. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll try bringing the CSV file. I'll go to where it exactly is stored. Yeah, it's, I think, class number 2, and it's ETL data. The file is called orders_2017 unprocessed. Okay. So basically we are dealing with the sales data, but yeah, I'll tell you about the information about, I'll give you the information about the data later, but let's first try bringing the file. Okay. So I'll bring this, click on open. And yeah. Now I just have a look at the table that we are trying to bring in here. Okay. And once you have the preview, and this preview actually is based on first 200 rows, but this also can be based on the entire data set. Okay. It depends on your selection here. By default, it's selected to based on first 200 rows. So let it be like that. Okay. And you have basically two options. You can either choose to directly load the data into Power BI Desktop, or you can choose to transform the data by going to Power Query Editor and actually go on to clean the data. Now, first of all, let me ask you, do you think this table has uniform data, or does it need to be cleaned by the look of it? Yeah.
It requires cleaning, yeah.
It requires cleaning, right? It definitely requires cleaning. Okay. So let's not load this directly. Let's go to the transform data. Okay. And once we click on transform data, basically we'll be taken to a completely new window. If you see, currently there are two windows. One is the Power BI Desktop, and the new window that has opened is actually Power Query Editor. Okay, it is Power Query Editor. And yeah, let me just uncheck all these things because I'm going to show them to you later. Okay, we'll deal with that later as well. Okay, so I'm in the Home tab within Power Query Editor. Okay, and let's just give the basic idea of what Power Query actually looks like. So here on the left-hand pane, you'll be seeing all the tables or queries which are there in Power Query Editor. Okay. And on the right-hand side or right side pane, you'll be seeing all the applied steps in the sense, all the transformations that you make one by one, all those steps will be listed here. So you'll be seeing them shortly after we start doing the transformations. At the top, you would be having many options. Like if you are done with all the transformation steps, then you can press on close and apply so that all these steps will be applied and you will be taken to Power BI Desktop again. Okay. And if you, let's say, want to bring data from a new source, you need not go to Power BI Desktop again. You can bring it while staying in Power Query Editor as well. You just need to click on new source and you can choose the source here by clicking on more or the existing source. Okay. So all these things you can do, and you can do certain basic transformations here, like choosing the columns, removing the columns, keeping the rows, removing the rows, all those things. And there are certain options that are there in transform, this transform tab, then add column tab, view tab, all of those we'll discuss in detail. Okay. So right now, the first thing that needs to be done is we'll start cleaning the data bit by bit, step by step. Okay. So first thing that I want to ask you is, here, I think some of the initial rows have to be deleted. Okay. So how many rows do you think we need to delete from this? Yes, people?
Three.
Yeah, 3.
3 or 4? Just
4.
Initial 4 rows need to be deleted, right? And the 5th row, the values in the 5th row, what are these exactly? Yes?
Headers.
They are column headers, right? They need to be made column headers. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to remove the rows now. Okay. So how many rows will remove? We'll go to this remove rows option. And once we click on it, a drop down will open. Okay. Here we need to choose remove top rows. And once we click on remove top rows, it'll ask how many rows have to be removed. Okay. And the answer is we need to remove 4 rows, 4 top rows. Once that is done, we'll click on OK. Now you see top 4 rows have been removed. Okay. And once this is done, what you need to do is you need to make the values of these first rows as headers. So there's a simple way to do that. In the home tab itself, at right hand side, you can see use first row as headers option. You simply need to click on that. Once you do that, you can see basically the first rows are headers now. Okay, the first rows are headers. So now, here you can see as we performed these 2 steps, what we did basically, we removed top rows and we also promoted headers. And they are being listed here. Can you see these people?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the thing is that here at the left-hand side of each step, can you see the cross mark which turns red when I hover over it?
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is that these are undoable steps. It means you can simply click on this cross mark and that step will be undone. Okay. That step will be undone. Let me do it once again. Okay. And also, not just that, some of the steps can be redone in the sense, let me show you what I mean. If I go here, now you see what I mean is, if you look at the right-hand side of each step, there is the gear icon. Can you see the gear icon? If you click on the gear icon, you'll be taken exactly to the step which you performed there. Now, instead of removing 4 rows, you can remove, you can change it basically. Okay, if you want to change it, you can change it. Let me show you how it's done. If I remove the 5 rows, okay, now there'll be a problem that will be occurring because the next step will be affected, right? If I click on OK, and if I go to next step now can you see this is messed up? Okay, because instead of removing 4 rows, I removed 5 rows. But nonetheless, you can again go back and change it. Okay, instead of 5, again, I can make it as 5. Okay. So these are nothing but the applied steps which we are talking about. Hope the thing about this is clear.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, also, I hope I need to show you one more thing, although I mentioned that in previous class as well, but nonetheless, I'll try showing you that. Let's say, now if I go to the file which is here, that is ETL data, and this is orders 2017, and this is the location from where I brought this file. If I, let's say, cut and paste it somewhere else, let's say if I paste it here, then what will happen in this case? See, right now, nothing has happened. But if I click on refresh, do you think it will be refreshed?
No, because the source of the file has been changed, so error will be shown.
Error will be shown. Let me just show you. If I try refreshing this, see, it says cannot find the file. And in order to find the file, what you need to do?
We need to change the path.
You need to go to data source settings. You need to click on data source settings. Okay. It'll open, just give it some time. And here, you need to click on this file. You need to change the path to that file. Okay. You can browse and show it the correct path, which is this one. Okay. So once you do that, it will be corrected. But I don't want to do it right now. What I'll do is I'll bring just that file in the same folder. But you get the idea, right? What I'm trying to explain.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've brought the file again back to the original folder, I'll just refresh the preview, and now the refresh will happen fine. Okay. So this is what you need to do. If the refresh is not happening properly, you need to check what kind of error it's giving you. In case it says the data not found, then you need to change the location of the underlying data. Okay. So yeah, this is about that. And then we'll move on to further steps in cleaning. Okay. So here you see the one thing which is quite clearly observable is that there are certain rows which are completely blank. Can you see them?
Yes.
Okay. Some of the rows in this are completely blank. Completely blank in the sense they don't have values in any columns. Okay. They don't have values in any columns. And such rows, basically such blank rows don't have any need to be kept in this data. Okay. So we can certainly remove them. All you need to do is you need to go to, again, click on remove rows. And now you need to select on remove blank rows. Okay. Now you see, once you clicked on remove blank rows, all those rows which had blank values in all the columns, those are removed. Okay. Now you see, but this column is still there. And what's the reason for that? I mean, this record is still there, although the rest of the rows are blank. I mean, the rest of the columns have blank values, but the first column, that is order ID, it's not blank. Okay. So whenever you click on remove blank rows, only the rows which have blank values in each columns will be deleted. Hope I'm clear with this one.
Yes, Pawan.
Okay, great.
Can you please repeat once again?
Okay, I'll just delete the previous step. Okay. So now you see we have certain blank rows. And when I say blank rows, I mean that the values in each columns are blanks. Can you see them?
Yes.
Okay. So when I click on remove blank rows, the rows which have blanks in each column, such rows will be removed. Am I clear? But now you see, there is some certain columns where some of them are blanks, but rest of the values are there. Such columns will not be removed. Okay.
Okay.
Such values will still be there. Similarly, we have this example as well. This order ID number 26, it has blank values in all the other columns, whereas in first column, it has the value. And that's the reason this particular row is not removed. Hope the point is clear now.
Yes.
Okay. So this is about removing the blank rows. Okay. And then, yeah, nonetheless, this also should be removed, and we'll do that because just having the order ID without having any details of the sales will not fetch you anything. Okay. So this also should be removed, and we'll come to that. Okay. So now let's again just try having a look at our data. Okay. So here, if you see, there are certain duplicate values. Can you see them? If you look at this one, order ID 333, and not just the order IDs are duplicate, but also if you look at these values, the product ID are duplicate, the miscellaneous detail is blank for all those records, and here this is also duplicate. Then let's see, the date also is duplicate. These sales quantity is also duplicate. So it certainly means that someone has by mistakenly entered the order details thrice. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. And we need not, I mean, we don't want the same record to be repeated thrice, but we want it to happen. I mean, we want it to exist only once. Okay. So in order to do that, so then what we need to do? We need to again go to remove rows, and we need to click on remove duplicates. Okay. And once you do that, only unique values will be here. Okay. We will be having only unique records or unique rows, not the duplicate rows. Okay. So this is about removing the duplicate. Now you might ask me, now I knew that there are duplicates, but what if, let's say there are millions of rows and you don't know whether there are duplicates or not? right? This dot might be in your mind. Yes. Now, the thing about that is, there is a thing called as view tab in this, and there you can look at the column profile. And whenever you look at the column profile, okay, now I'm looking into the column profile of order ID. Now, can you see it has this particular information? How many distinct values are there? How many unique values are there? And if there are any duplicates, you will come to know that. Okay. So any values which are repeating, you will definitely know in this case. Okay. And I hope you people know the difference between the unique and distinct. Yes or no?
Sort of, but if you can explain, it will
Okay.
more better.
Okay. Sure. Okay, let's say, let's create two columns. Okay. Or ID itself. Okay. Six, seven, eight. Okay. Now, if you look into this, okay, if you look into these records, now how many distinct values are there? How many different values are there?
8.
8 distinct values are there. Okay. But if you consider unique values, how many unique values are there in this? Can anyone tell me? The unique values are the ones which occur only once. One is unique, right? 3 is unique in this, right?
Yes, and 6, 7.
Then 6, 7, 8. Okay. So 5 unique values are there. Agree? Distinct values means different. How many different values are there? But unique values means the values which occur only once. They are the unique values. I hope everyone got the difference between the distinct and unique values.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Now, coming back to this. Now, let's say if distinct values are more than unique values, it means there are duplicates. Agree?
Yes.
Yes or no? Then that's the way you can know that there are duplicates. Okay. So all you need to do is go to column profile and check on this thing. If there is a variation in this, then you definitely know that there are duplicates. Okay. This is the way to find the duplicates basically. Okay. I'll go back to the home tab. Okay. So basically we remove the duplicates. Okay. Then what we'll do next is we'll have a look at the columns. Okay. The order ID basically is the primary key for this transaction table. Now, if you look at this table, this basically is the transaction table that contains the details of the transactions of the orders that were made by some customers, like the order ID column, the prod ID. Prod ID means the product ID, which gives you the details of the product which was ordered. Okay. And there is this miscellaneous detail column. We'll come to that later. And this is the store ID, basically the information of the store where exactly the order was placed. Then order date, basically the date on which the order was placed. Sales quantity, the number of quantities that were ordered. Then the revenue that was generated by placing these orders of the quantities. Then what was the stock? What was the price of the stock? Then the promotion type they went for. Then there's this again bin column, which we are not certain what it is. Let's look into that later. Then promotion type 2, then bin 2, then again discount, then delivery date. Okay. So these are all the columns. So the thing is, whenever you bring in any new table or any new data, first thing that you need to do is you need to read the data and you need to understand what is the data trying to tell you. Okay. So this basic table is trying to give you the information about the orders that were made on some particular dates. And it is trying to give me the information related to certain metrics like order quantity placed, the price, the stock, the sales that were made. Okay. So this is what you need to do first. You need to actually read the data. Okay. I hope the information about this particular table is clear with everyone.
Yeah.
And now one more thing I wanted to show you. Now here, you see, as we remove the blank rows and remove the duplicates, there are two more steps that were added, which certainly are undoable. But you see here at the right side of those particular steps, the gear icon is not there, which meaning you cannot change those steps. I mean, just like you change the, you can change the promote headers, or you can basically change how many top rows were removed. It does not have any gear icons. So basically, this gear icons wherein you can alter the previous step will not be available for each and every step. Hope you're clear with that. Okay. But yeah, nonetheless, this undo button will be there for each and every step. Okay. So it's about this. Now, let us try to delete some of the columns that we think we don't need. Okay. And in actual organizations, before deleting any columns, you always need to ask your data engineers whether do we really need this column. Okay. But yeah, once you get the information about deleting those columns, you can delete them in Power BI. And what's the way to do it is, see here what I'll do, I'll go to basically, I'll check which all columns can be deleted. See, if you look into this miscellaneous detail, and if you click on the drop down which you have at the right hand side of the column header, what you'll get is the types of values that are there in this. If I click on load more, so now you see its values are either blanks or NAs, means not applicable, or nulls. Okay. So basically speaking, it doesn't have any useful values for you. So it means you can certainly delete it. And deleting the columns is very simple. All you need to do is click on this column and you can click on remove columns. Okay. If you click on remove column, that particular column will be removed. But there's also one more way that can happen. Okay. Let's say I'll just go to the, I'll undo this step. Now, let's say you have clicked on this column, and sometimes let's say apart, and I'm just creating a scenario. Okay. Just for instance, let's say apart from these three columns, you don't need any other columns. Okay. Then what you can do, you can select these three columns. You can go to remove columns, drop down, and you can remove other columns instead. So what will happen? Apart from these three columns, everything else will be deleted. Hope this is clear.
Yes.
So that also is one of the options that you can use, because if let's say there are some 40 or 50 number of columns, and among those, if you want only 4 or 5 columns for your analysis, you can select those 4 or 5 columns and you can choose to delete the rest of the columns instead. Okay. So here in my scenario, what I'll do is I'll just go for the normal remove columns. Okay. And then I'll delete that one. And then maybe I'll check some more columns if that is possible. I'll look into the promotion type. Yeah, these have certain values. And yeah, this makes sense. Then we have bin. And then if you look into bin 2, again, it has either blanks or NAs. So meaning this can be deleted. So I'll try deleting this as well. And yeah, what's happened here? I filtered rows or what? Let me check. I think I filtered the rows. I'll delete the previous step. And I'll show you filtering row steps as well. No, don't worry about that right away. So this also I'll delete. Now, just give me a minute, people. Someone's on the door. Okay. So we basically were removing the columns. Until now, we actually have removed the two columns. One is the first one that we deleted was here, some miscellaneous detail, and then the bin. Okay. But if you see here, the thing is that we removed the two columns, but it is consolidated as one single step. Can you see remove column being mentioned 2 times? No, right? Removed columns is mentioned only once, even though we have removed 2 columns. So what Power BI or Power Query Editor does is, if it finds the similar steps one after another or similar consecutive steps, it basically consolidates them into a single step. Hope you are clear on this, people.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what happens. Then let me just check whether some other column can be deleted as well. Let me go to, discount. If you look into this, again, it has only the blank values, okay, or NA values. So let it be, I'll delete this column as well, okay. Choose columns, then remove columns, okay. So these 3 columns are deleted now. But let me show you something else as well, okay. Let's say if we don't go by this way, okay, and you want to do it in a quite faster fashion, then what you can do, I'll first click on clear the previous step, and then I'll go to choose columns, okay. And when you click on choose columns, and again under this, again you go to choose columns, then the option that you have is you can choose the columns that you want to keep here. Okay, basically what I did, I deleted miscellaneous detail column and then bin 2 column and discount column manually there. But if you know which are the columns that need to be deleted, you can unselect those and you just need to click on OK. So what will happen? Only those columns will be kept, which have been selected. Okay, this is one of the faster versions to delete multiple columns. Hope the point is clear.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's one more thing. Okay. Let's say in your table, there are 40 or 50 columns. Okay. And you want to go to a particular column and you are not able to find that. This happens very often. You want to find certain column, but you're not able to find it because you are either scrolling too fast or maybe you're not able to find it. Okay. But if you want to find it, then there's one more way to do. Instead of scrolling from left to right, you can go to choose columns again, and under the choose column, you can select the second option, that is go to column. Hope this is visible. If you choose go to column, then whichever column you click on and press OK, that column will be highlighted. Is that clear, people? Let me show you once again. Go to column. Let's say I want this one, product ID instead. Click on OK. Then you'll be taken to product ID column. Point is clear, people?
Yes.
So this is about removing the unwanted columns, or maybe choosing the required columns, or going to a particular column. Okay. Now, let's go to some more steps. Okay. So if you have a look at the order ID, okay, if you have a look at the order ID, and you look at maybe these two particular records. 26, the record order ID number 26 has all the blank values. Can you see? From right to left, all the columns corresponding to order ID number 26 are blank. So basically, we can remove this whole record we can remove. And similarly, if you look at the record number 28 or order ID number 28, corresponding to that order ID, all rest of the column values, what are those? Can you see this? They're all NA values, right? They're all NA values. So meaning these order ID number 26 and 28, we don't need them. Okay, we actually don't need them. And we can remove them. Okay, and the way to filter is also very simple. All you can do is you need to go here. Okay, and you can see those particular records here by just searching on them. Okay, so now you see there is 26. I'll unselect 26, and there's also 28, which I want to unselect. I'll click on 28. I'll unselect 28 as well. Okay, and if I click on OK now, those two records will be removed. And if they are removed from here, it means those whole records will be removed. Point is clear, people?
Yes.
One quick question, like these two columns we can see, right? But if we are not able to see, like it will be on, some series like 1,000 or 10,000, something like that. So how we can deal with that?
I'll show you.
And one more question, like as order ID is a primary key, right? So in that particular fashion, maybe the sequence is disturbed, right? Like after 25 or
See, the sequence,
27.
yeah, you're correct. The sequence is disturbed. But the thing is, all I'm saying is all these steps you can perform in Power BI. And yeah, if there are no values, initially what I told you, that thing should be mentioned to your data engineer. Okay. These things first, it needs to be informed to the data engineer. And if he says yes, go ahead, then you can change it here, as I said. But most of the time, what happens, if there are certain things like this, then the data engineer, he might tell you that he will do it on the back end and give you the clean table. Okay. But nonetheless, you should be able to clean it in Power BI as well. And that's the reason I'm giving you these options. Okay.
Okay, so is there like, we should consider any primary key in that particular Power BI editor or not? Like just for the reference.
What do you exactly mean by consider the primary key?
I mean, it help, right? Like to sort the data. Like we check the distinct value and unique
You
values.
mean sorting from, sorting in ascending or descending order, that?
No, like on the basis of that.
Can you be more clear on to, because see, the primary key, it basically is a unique identifier. Okay?
Yeah.
And not just that, it has certain other constraints as well. Like it should be unique. Okay.
Yeah.
And if it's a primary key, we are not supposed to delete that until and unless there are no records at all. Okay. So yeah, apart from that, what is your doubt about that?
No, that's all I'm asking. Like, should we consider or not? Because in SQL, maybe like we should consider the power primary key, right? So that's the reason I'm just asking for the reference.
See, primary key constraints should be followed, no doubt about that. And also, whenever you are bringing any table, you will be knowing about the primary key. Okay, primary key of that particular table. Because right now we are talking about the sales transactions or orders table basically. And for this kind of table, primary key will be the order ID itself. Okay.
Yeah.
Primary key will be order ID itself. So that is quite understood. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So where were we? Yeah, we just deleted or filtered order IDs number 26 and 28. Okay, because all the other values in those rows were either blanks or ends. Okay. So yeah, and okay. So
Pawan,
yes,
sorry
please.
to interrupt.
No problem.
Why filtered rows are not consolidated? Because I can see two steps.
See, yeah, I'll tell you. Because this filter, if you remember, I told you two similar steps which are consecutive.
Okay.
If these things would have been consecutive, that is one after another, then they would have been consolidated. But they are not consecutive, right? After we performed this, I performed some removing of other columns, and then I performed filtering of rows. Okay. Let me show
Okay.
you one more thing. Let's say if I remove some other columns now, let's say if I remove sales quantity, do you think it will be consolidated with this step?
Yeah, I mean, from the last step, I don't think, yeah.
I'll show you, because if I remove this now, remove this column, sales quantity, see, there's a new step. It would have been consolidated if I had done it exactly after this. If it was consecutive step, then it will be consolidated. Consecutive similar steps will be consolidated. Hope the point is clear.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's time. So any more doubts, people?
The last question, the quick question, like if we have, NA values at 1000 and all that question, right?
If you have NA values and
like we remove 26 order ID, right? Because there is no values after order ID. So if we are not able to see any particular row, like with our eyes, right? So that how we can figure it out?
Actually, yeah, I was going to tell you that in next class, but nonetheless, I'll show you that. Let's say if I go to order ID and if I go to column quality, okay, now you see it shows me the valid values, errors, empty values as well. So let's say if there are blanks, those will be listed as empty values. Okay. And as far as the NAs are concerned, okay, NAs, right? So how that you can find? Let me show you. If let's say again, I go to home tab, if you go to choosing the values, so here you can definitely see them, right, by scrolling down. And I'll tell you, those when NAs, you will not miss them. If there are any NAs in the order ID or things like that, you will not miss them. Even if you miss it here, while doing the actual report, you will definitely come across that, because there might be case wherein you might bring order ID somewhere in some visualization, maybe just to validate something. And there, if you see the NA value, you know that it should be removed. Clear?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other doubts, people, with someone?
I'm not able to see previous two recording on my Graphy.
No, the previous two classes were not conducted on Graphy, but they were conducted in Zoom itself. So whenever they are conducted on Zoom, that recording will be, the link to that recording will be uploaded in WhatsApp group.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So,
so today's class will also be uploaded on the WhatsApp group, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this class will also be in the YouTube recording link of this class also will be uploaded in the WhatsApp. Yeah.
Okay.
And I hope you guys are able to do the assignments. See, let me tell you one thing. The thing is that Power BI, it's a software. It basically is a tool which is highly capable. And when I say highly capable, you can do lots of things in here. And lots of things in the sense you can bring the data from various sources. You can do various Power Query editing steps, you can do the DAX and you can do the visualization. So there are various parts to this. Okay, there is literally end-to-end data analysis can be done in Power BI itself. Okay, so what happens is that if you just keep listening to the recordings without doing the classwork or assignments yourself, after 2 classes, you will definitely forget what has happened in this. Okay, so only way to learn Power BI is not just listening to the recording sessions, but also to do the work yourself. Yeah, this assignments also are loaded in that group itself. The data as well as the assignment files, the classwork file also is loaded as a part of RAR file. Okay, you need to extract that from the RAR file. Okay. And I request you all to go through the recordings, do all the things which we did in the class, and not just that. After that, you also do the assignments. And if you have any doubts with respect to anything, you can post it in the group, or you can even message me as well. Not a problem. Okay. But if you, my suggestion is if you want to learn Power BI in a thorough manner, okay, then you have to work, not just listen to the recordings. That surely is not going to help. Okay. Yeah. So that's the humble suggestion. Any more doubts, people? Okay. Let me stop the recording.